I'd like to talk about a new book I've written called Weep, Shudder, Die. This is the most unusual and original prose book I've ever written. It's about the relationship between opera and poetry. And that sounds probably very remote to most people, but let me explain to you what I talk about and why. The book is about three things. The first is my belief that opera is the most intense form of poetic drama. Opera, in fact, is a poetic medium in which the words are brought to life in the bodies of the singers in the context of the story the poet creates. Now, that is very different from the way most people understand opera. In fact, the conventional way of looking at opera is that the words are worthless, they're silly things that are written to allow the genius of the composer to flourish. I believe that that's almost entirely untrue, and I'll explain why. The second thing that the book is about is artistic collaboration. This is something else that is not really well understood. So many of our greatest performing arts, film, musical theater, opera, are collaborative, in which artists from different media come together and they create a work which could not exist in any one medium. For opera, you have the collaboration between a poet or a lyricist and a composer, but the composer can't begin until the text is written. People ask, what comes first, the music or the words? And believe it or not, although most people think otherwise, in virtually 100% of operas, all of the words, or most of the words, come before the composer writes a single note. And in fact, what the poet does is to create a text to excite the imagination of the composer, who then has human figures, language, and situations out of which to create a musical drama. The third thing that the book is about, and I think this is actually the most important, is the idea, the nature of song. In classical music, oddly, the composers and the musicologists have forgotten the power and the nature of song, which is a different existential category from other forms of communication. And at the root of both poetry and opera is the universal human activity of song. I take these ideas of poetic drama, of artistic collaboration, and this weird human behavior called song, and I weave them together to describe the most alluring and extravagant art form humanity has ever invented, called opera. Song is a universal human art. No one has found a culture which does not have song. It is also a ubiquitous art, used by every human activity from worship to warfare. Armies once sang as they marched off to battle, sailors chanted as they put out to sea, shepherds sang to their flocks, mothers still sing to their sleepy children. Whether solo or choral, song is communal. It links the singer and the listener. Song can be stylized and developed in countless ways, from bel canto to kabuki, but the underlying common impulse remains. Song is magical. The Latin word for song is carmen, a word that also means a poem, a magical spell, or prophecy. All poetry was originally sung. Its purpose was to enchant, seduce, comfort, and include. Songs are spells to awaken and enlarge emotions. Listeners weep or smile. They feel affinity or loss. Songs communicate across languages. People feel meaning in songs whose words they can't understand. Opera and poetry are both essentially magical media. I borrow the title of my book from the composer Vincenzo Bellini, who said, "Through singing, opera must make the listener weep, shudder, and die." The transaction of opera is to lose yourself in the combined beauty of the words and music and singing so that you are transformed from your ordinary, everyday self. Most of what I say in this book goes against conventional wisdom. I look on opera as a literary form transformed by music. Operas begin with words. Strong words inspire composers, weak words burden them. Ultimately, singers embody the words to give the music a human form for an audience. This is a poet's book about opera. To some people, that will suggest writing that is airy, impressionistic, and unreliable. But a poet also brings a practical sense of how words animate opera, lend life to imaginary characters, and give human shape to music. And poets also know about love. There is no art form I love more than opera. This book is written for others who, sharing that devotion, have also wept in the dark of an opera house.